Oh, yeah. I'm making two in one day again. Big whoop. I finished Metro 2034 during lunch. I had two chapters left. It wasn't even really two chapters. It was one chapter and an epilogue. And holy cliffhanger, Batman. The epilogue did not answer really much of anything. It did, but it didn't. Good book, though. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was on the edge of my seat for the last, 5 or 6 chapters. I'm looking forward to starting Metro 2035. And then finally leaning into that backlog. I have so many books in the backlog, dude. Once I started reading again, everybody that's ever read a book that I know has recommended books to me, and there's other books I've been wanting to read, so I just have this backlog of books. I feel a little bit like that one dude in that Twilight Zone episode, the one where he's all he wants to do is read. You know, every situation he's in, he's reading. He's at home, he's reading. He's at work, he's supposed to be working, and he's reading. And then the end of the world happens, and he's left alone. And he's got infinite time to read books. Or not infinite, he's got a finite time. Eventually he'll die, but he's got a finite time to read books. And then at a certain point, because he's big on glasses, because he can't read without glasses, I think he can't even really see without glasses. But at one point he breaks his glasses, and now it's he's got a finite time with just thousands upon thousands of books, and now he can't read any of his books. It's a really dark Twilight Zone episode, honestly. Not that a lot of Twilight Zone episodes aren't, but that one's pretty fucking dark. And not that I don't want to talk about Twilight Zone. Maybe I'll talk about it in another video. But my favorite episode of the Twilight Zone is They Shot an Arrow Through the Sky, I think is the title of it. Astronauts get shot into space, and they think they've landed on the moon or another planet. And spoiler alert, going forward, they start killing each other and going insane and stuff, and because they have no way of going back, and they're in the middle of nowhere, no communication, no nothing, and the one guy who finally who survives the whole ordeal, he crosses this mountain range, and as he gets to the top, he's freaking out. He's just livid about what he's just noticed, and the camera pans, and it's Vegas 30 miles away or something like that. They never left Earth, and it's gotta be my favorite Twilight Zone episode. I can't praise that show enough. I used to love the Twilight Zone. All those anthology shows, that's why I was really big into Black Mirror. Just these 20, 30, 40 minute episode anthologies about various different stories and stuff I always liked. The Outer Limits, Tales from the Crypt, Night Theater, or Night Gallery, I think it's called. I love those shows, man. Anyway, I made a video on this before, but I've already deleted it a long time ago. But reading, since I've been getting back into reading, I started my first book getting back into reading. Oh man, what was it? What did I start with? I don't remember what book I started with, Anyway, I read Metro 2033 because I really liked the video game series, so I wanted to read the books. So I finished 2033, and then I read Absalom, and I just finished Metro 2034, so I'll be starting Metro 2035, unless I decide to break it up and read another book first. I might do that. just because Metro 2039 doesn't come out until February, so I have plenty of time. So I might read another book first and then read Metro 2035. I haven't decided yet. But I've been definitely getting back into reading a lot more. I don't have the greatest habit of it because I got rid of my Kindle. I had a Kindle. I had the Paperwhite, and then I ended up getting the Color Soft. But I got rid of them because I don't like how Amazon's business practices have been as of late, where they can just take your stuff away from you even if you paid for it. This whole digital rights, you have a license to basically finitely rent something. Like, I'm not okay with that. So I ended up getting rid of my Kindle. I actually have two e-readers now. I have the XT e-Ink X4, and then I have the Kobo Color Reader. So I've been reading on the Kobo more than anything because the XTE ink is really cool, but it's really small, and I think it's good for like use cases, very specific use cases. So the reason why I say the habit is bad, and it's why I might just start using the smaller one, the XTE ink, for when I'm like at home. I'm also hesitant about reading two books at once. I guess I should say one of the things is I could use the XTE ink to read a separate book. I can read one book when I'm on lunch at work, and then I can read another book when I'm at home. But I'm hesitant to read two books at once because I already have a hard enough time concentrating as it is. So if I read two books at once, like, am I going to remember everything accurately? Because, like, at least with Metro 2034, the fact that it's the only book I've been reading, I'm pretty familiar with, like, what I've just read. I don't know if I'll have that same mental capacity if I read two books simultaneously. I guess I could always give it a shot and find out. The other downside is, like, I could read the same book at home and at work, but since I don't have a Kindle, it doesn't save my place between devices. So unless I want to, like, open up the other e-reader and scroll all the way to where I last ended off, I basically have to just read on one device, which, boo-hoo, first world problems, right? But credit where it's due, that is a neat feature about the Kindle. It recognizes where you left off between devices. That's okay, you know. I've thought about just putting all my books on my phone too, and just reading on my phone. I like the e-ink displays though when I'm reading, because it's not as obtrusive on the eyes, or obstructive on the eyes, and it's less distracting too. Like with my phone, you know, I could put it on Do Not Disturb, where I'm not getting notifications while I'm reading. Like, I could develop a mode where it's just like reading mode, and I only get texts from specific people or phone calls from specific people. I mean, duh, that's the point of the mode. But I don't know, just reading it on an e-reader, on top of it just being less strenuous on your eyes, there's no distractions. Unless you have an e-reader that has capabilities like that, you can't get text messages, you can't get phone calls or anything on it. So I'm just reading, I'm not getting distracted. I definitely get distracted really easily, so it's nice when I'm reading on an e-reader because just no distractions. The one I have is really nice. It's the Kobo. I don't remember exactly which model. It's really nice. You can flip it in any orientation you want. So, like, when I'm eating lunch, I'll have it in my left hand, and I'll have it held where the buttons are on the far left side, so I can click the buttons with my left hand. When I'm not eating lunch, I'll have it in my right hand with the buttons on the right hand, you know. Well, that's cool. I think there's pros and cons to different e-readers. So, like the XT e-ink that I have, the pro to that is everything can sit on an SD card. You don't have to have it on your internal memory or your internal storage, which I kind of prefer that, because I have them all stored on my computer too, so never mind. I was going to say, if the device ever went to shit or something, I'd lose it, but no, I have it all on my computer too. I have backups of backups of backups. The Kobo, on the other hand, doesn't have an SD card slot, so it's all internal storage, which, first world problems. Not the end of the world. But I like e-readers. I'm pretty fond of them. I actually started going on this weird desire for wanting e-ink everything. There's this smartwatch that people are developing, and I've thought about backing because it's going to be an e-ink display. I just like the idea of it, man. I'm big into technology, and that's why this AI stuff pisses me off so much, is the wrong people have it. But, I do like technology a lot. And e-ink is something really cool. For very specific use cases, I think e-ink is far superior. Don't get me wrong, I had the Galaxy Watch. It's a great watch. Battery life only gets me about a day on a charge. And that's with a lot of stuff turned off. And having removable bands and stuff is great. I get to personalize it a little bit. I could have a watch face. But honestly, if I could have all the hardware of the Galaxy Watch, all the health tracking and all that, would just have a dumb watch, with an e-ink display, that would be goated, in my opinion. I've kind of went off on a tangent. I'm sorry. Kind of gloating over e-ink displays right now. This video is supposed to be about reading, so I'll get back to that. But yeah, no, reading is good. Reading is healthy. It's helped a lot with just relaxing. I'm trying to convince myself, and it helped that I was so invested in the world of Metro to be excited to read. I was telling my coworker yesterday, I can't wait until lunch tomorrow so I can read the final chapters of my book. I want to be like that every day. I want to be I can't wait till tomorrow to read the next couple chapters of my book. Because most of the time I can get a couple chapters in during lunch. So I look forward to reading a couple chapters. And I'm one of those people who I can't really finish reading if I'm not finished the end of the chapter. I don't like finishing in the middle of a chapter. That's why, sometimes I have to look at the time before I start the second chapter. I'm okay, the chapters seem to be about the same amount of pages. Do I have enough time to finish this next chapter? And if I do, I'll read it. Getting 2 chapters in is great. I think there's 20 chapters to Metro 2035, so that'll take me about 10 days to read, give or take, unless I start deciding to read at home. And I could bring that device, because I leave it at work. And the main reason I leave it at work is so I don't forget it at home. Because I have a habit of forgetting things. Not intentionally, but sometimes I forget. And I don't want to leave it at home and forget it and then not have my book to read. I know that sounds so meaningless, but it is to me, because it's something I'm trying to get into the habit of doing. And if I forget the whole entire being of the habit of doing it, then so I leave it at work. So if I bring it home, I have to be that more extra vigilant. I have to be that more vigilant about making sure I bring it to work every day. It's just easier if I leave it at work. Let's just put it that way. So like I said, my option to that is I could just load it up on the other e-reader I have and just flip through to that chapter that I'm currently on that I left off on, But, I don't know. First world problems. And for anyone that's like, well, Mark, why don't you just buy a physical book? There's plenty of physical books out there. And look, I completely get what you're saying. And in 90% of the cases, I'd agree with you. I think physical media is dying, and it's unfortunate, and we should do what we can to keep preserving physical media. My problem is, I have a small studio. I can't buy every single book I want to read physically. I'd have nowhere to put them. And I know what people are going to say there. They're going to say, well, once you finish a book, you can either donate it to the library or give it to somebody else to read. And you're right, I could. I'm a collector. I have a habit of when I buy things, I don't tend to want to give them up, even if it's a book I've read, because not a lot of people will reread books. Some people will read a book and then it just sits on a shelf for the rest of its life. And I also don't want to do that either, technically, but I don't know, I get what you're saying. I know nobody's said that yet, but for those who are going to think that, I get what you're saying. I understand what you mean. I should buy physical books, especially since I'm in agreement that physical media is dying. So I should absolutely. But on the other hand, I'm kind of in this weird limbo where I'm like, this stuff's not going to end because not enough people can come together to agree on things and actually fight the problem. I've been buying DVDs. I know they take up a lot of space too, but they don't take up as much space as a book. 5 DVDs take up the space of one book, depending on the size of the book. I don't know. It's complicated. Anyway, I understand. I get it. I should be buying physical books. Or at least renting from the library. I could rent from the library. A few of the books I want to read are old books. I think I had The Grapes of Wrath in there. I have some old school Stephen King that I'm sure I could find at the library. So I could absolutely do it physically. I could. I don't know. I'll have to ponder that. Because that's a good point. Nobody said it. I talked myself into it. Yeah, that's about it. I'm sure I rambled on enough about reading. You should try to read. I think reading is really good for your mental state. I think it's really good for your brain, learning. I've thought about downloading the dictionary onto my e-reader and reading the dictionary. I mean, why not, right? Finish all the books I want to read and read the dictionary. Why not? I've thought about rereading the Bible, even though I'm an atheist. It's nice to know what it entails, especially since I used to be heavily Catholic. Just when somebody walks up to me on the street and quotes something from the Bible, I can be like, well, no. Because yes, I have had people walk up to me on the street and state things from the Bible that I'm like, no, that's not at all. I don't know. That's all I wanted to say about reading. You should read. I can recommend books. If you watch this video and you're curious what I recommend, I'll add it to my description. I haven't read too many books, but I do have some recommends. So, yeah, that's it. Peace.